Hello everyone. I'm sure that most of you have seen the Collage Fodder where you create watercolor blocks and then do little doodles on them. And while I love to doodle and am perfectly comfortable doodling on different types of things, and I love doing that, not everyone is. So I had a couple of ideas, and I also know that not everyone, that you can't always use your watercolors simply because it takes time to dry, and you might not want to get it out, or maybe you don't have any. Now I'm going to give you several ideas on how to create these little background pieces. Oh, that's watercolor as well, with other mediums that you've very likely got in your stash. So I'm going to give you some ideas for the backgrounds, and then I'm going to show you an idea for eliminating the doodling part. I am using this Strathmore mixed media paper. It's something I got on clearance, and the reason I'm using it instead of watercolor paper is because I wanted the extremely smooth texture to use today. That's kind of important in what I plan to do. Now, there's all kinds of ways we can get our little blocks of color. The first one I'm going to do is to use these markers. These are old, really old, probably good 15 to 20 years. Some of them are a little dry, so I did have some situations where it didn't really work as well as I wanted it. So I am going to say, not every marker works, but these are dye-based water markers. Now, you can get the Tombow water markers. Any kind of dye-based marker will work for this, as long as it has some juice in it. This is just a watercolor brush filled with water. You could use a regular brush as well. I'm just going to put some water down sort of in a rectangle. I'm going to take this marker and just kind of mark. You noticed I kind of used the side of the marker, not the tip. And I'm just going to spread it out some more. Maybe put a little more in. You definitely want to put some water on your paper before you start putting the marker down. If you don't, it does not bleed around very well. So that's what I did to get these squares. Like I said, this marker was just too dry and didn't want to give me any juice to make my square. But that was just dye-based watercolor markers. And I think that's what I'm trying to explain here, is that there are other products besides watercolor paint that we can work with, maybe when we're not able to work with a pan of watercolor paint. The next thing I want to play with are these distress inks. These are the lighter colors of my Distress inks. They are a dye-based ink. Oh, that was good. Just dump that one out. I just pulled the lighter colors out of my stash, and this is what I got from them. I got a lot of water on here, and I really kind of like that, so I left it. It's not a necessity, but it is really kind of cool to get that, I don't know, where the water pools and puddles. So the next thing I'm going to do is the same kind of thing. Now you could probably spray your paper, but I found that spraying the paper made the paper much more wrinkly. And you notice all I did was take that pad. I guess I should have said what I was doing instead of stopping to talk. I just took the pad and rubbed it into the puddle of water I had already put on the paper. Let me do that again. See, I'm just putting water down. And then putting some ink down. Now, you wouldn't have to go back over it. You could leave that with that sort of scraped edge. Let's do another one, then leave it that way. Just a minute. Let's just put some water. It's just a different look. Okay. So that gives you another way too to use your Distress inks. There's lots of ways to use the products we have, and we don't always do that. So that's with this Distress ink. Now, this is a box of Crayola color paints, and believe it or not, they're one of my favorites because I tend to use a lot of really bright colors. Obviously, they're not the same kind of colors as the Distress inks and some of the other things, but as far as watercolors go, these are some of the ones I did with the watercolors, and the watercolor is still probably my favorite way to do this, but I just wanted you to have options. Let's try this blue. These are very concentrated colors, so you kind of want to go easy with how much you pick up. And you notice I'm just using a wet brush and water. And I did not water down my paper ahead of time. So that is just 3. I mean, I'm sure there are many other options for getting just a a simple square on a piece of paper. For that matter, I imagine, didn't even think about this, you could just take your marker and just do a marker square. And not even go over that with water. Just a nice square that's not perfect. I like imperfection in the background. Now that may be something you don't want. You might want to create more perfection in the background. But now so whatever option you go with for, let's bring you in so you can see those backgrounds real well, and then I'll put it back out. Whatever option you go with to get your backgrounds, now's the thing that makes the not having to doodle part come in. Though the other thing is that dries really fast, where the watercolor and some of the others do not dry really fast. So let's just take a set of stamps. And now I'm just going to pull out my, this is just archival ink. It is permanent. Oh, let's probably, my paper's just a little wrinkly, so I'm going to get something kind of soft to put underneath it. I tend to use this silicone pad, but even a piece of, what do I want to say? Even a piece of fun foam would work. And see how fast we've just created some great ephemera. If you wanted to create multiple pieces, use the same stamp over and over on a few different things. Okay, so that's one set. I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to do some on this watercolor. I find using these long stamps, I need to hold it sideways with both hands, so it's one of those things that's easier to do that way. Now, if you wanted, you could go back in, you could color these flowers a little bit. I don't want to. I want just the plain black look. I'm just going to set those aside for the time being so they can dry. I have other little stamps with different kinds of flowers. Let's see here. There's a flower in this one that I want to try out. Okay, I have a little plastic, or, you know, the little block is here somewhere. It got up and left home. There, acrylic block, that's what I'm looking for, is my acrylic block. Okay, now these squares are too big for this one. I want a smaller square. So I'm just going to hunt up a smaller square. Let's use this one that's got the... This is from the ink. Some of these ink stamps have never been inked. Isn't that fun? I'm going to try it on okay. How about we do a dragonfly? I love this little dragonfly. I've been using it a lot. Maybe let's put it so that it's straight on there. Ugh, I didn't do that. That's not good, Tanya. You have to push the whole stamp down. So it might not go back over. It's not right, but that's all right. So I'm okay. That one didn't come out. It's not a big deal. I think it will be pretty on that pink. So that was what I really wanted to show you today, is that you can make a bunch of collage ephemera very easily, very quickly, with just a little bit of piddling around. The one thing I can tell you is that with the watercolor situation, you do have to let it dry, but you can make several pages of little swatches before you know it, and then you can go back in and put your stamps on them and end up with lots of little collage fodder pieces. So now these are all designed to be just sort of torn out. I'll get my tear ruler out here and tear one out for you. That just was just a wonderful, quick little ephemera piece. Let's tear these out. These yellow ones are just, the mixed media paper tears very nicely. Now, of course, we're probably going to ink these, but I always wait to ink things until I kind of have an idea of what it's going into, as far as you know, what book I'm going to use it for, things like that. So I just hope this gives you some ideas. I hope it's, you know, something that sparks some idea for you. And now I'm going to tell you, go have fun, make some art. Bye-bye.